In 13.4, we take a look at the costs and advantages of home ownership. And in this section, we take a look at fixed rate mortgages. And what it says is that a loan for a substantial amount extending over a lengthy time for the purpose of buying a home or other property, and for which the property is pledged as a security for the loan, is called a mortgage. Typically, you'll see mortgages have a term of 15, 20, or 30 years. With a fixed rate mortgage, the interest rate will remain constant throughout the term. Typically, the amount borrowed, which is called the principal, and the interest are paid back to the lender through regular, periodic, monthly in most cases, payments. This is called amortizing the loan. The regular monthly payment is calculated with the formula below, where P is the amount of the loan or the principal, R is the interest rate expressed as a decimal, and T is the term in years. So as you can see, it's kind of a messy formula. There's also a table 6 on page 714, which is usable in some cases. So I'm going to show an example actually of each. It's easier to use the table, believe me. Okay, so example number 2 on page 722. This is from the written exercises. We're taking out a mortgage of $50,000 at 11% for 15 years. Okay, so what we do is we use the table to look up the payment per $1,000. So what we're looking for is the term of 15 years, and we want to go across that until we're under 11%. And so we find 11.36597 is the payment per $1,000. So if we look at the 50,000, there are 50,000, so we take 50 times 11.36597 gives us a monthly payment of $568.30. So it is a lot easier than trying to use this formula up here. Okay. Now, unfortunately, in some cases, we cannot use the table. So let's look at doing the formula. We're looking at, in number 6, taking out a mortgage of $95,450 at 15.5% for 5 years. Okay, 15.5% is not in table 6, so we must use the formula. In place of P, we put the amount of the mortgage, which is the principal, $95,450. Our rate is 15.5%. Note that we change that to a decimal, 0.155, divided by 12. In the denominator, we have 1 minus, and in parentheses, 12 divided by 12 plus this interest rate as a decimal, so 0.155, raised to 12 months in a year times 5 years would be 60 payments. So we're figuring out there the number of payments over the term of the loan or the mortgage. And when we do the calculations, you come up with $2,295.88. Now I want to point something out, and let me get a pen here. I did get my pen back, so I can do a little bit of marking. When you go to do this on the calculator, here's what I suggest. Insert parentheses around the numerator. Okay, it's going to jump around on me, so let me erase. Oh, now it's going to go back. Okay, you want parens. I'm just going to leave that there. Around the numerator, and parentheses around the denominator. And of course, the fraction bar is the same as the divided by symbol. So you want to make sure that you put parentheses around the numerator That means it'll compute the numerator, it'll compute the denominator, and then it will divide the two. So that's very important. Notice here you do have an exponent, so you're going to need parentheses around this. And again, the 12 will be okay since it's by itself. Again, for the denominator, you want to put 12 plus 0.155. Or you could just add it in your head and say 12.155. So 12 divided by 12.155 raised to the 60th will make it a lot easier to put into the calculator. So be careful as you work on these. Putting parentheses around the numerator and denominator when you enter it in your calculator will allow you to enter the entire expression without rounding at any in the middle of the calculation. What happens when you round in the middle of the calculation is that it introduces error to your answer, and each time you round and do more computations with the rounded number, it increases that error. So it can make your answer off by a fair amount. So be careful of that. Okay, so that's why I say the formula is not a very good one. It's a good formula, it's just a lot more difficult than using the table. Okay, so we have number 10 on page 722. This time there's a mortgage of $87,000. The interest rate is 8.5%, 8.5%, and the term is 20 years. So the first thing we are to calculate is the payment. So because it's $87,000 and the table value is the payment per thousand, we want to take the 8.67823 from the table times 87, because there are 87,000s in this particular mortgage, and we get 755.01 is the payment, monthly payment. So that's step one. Step two is we want to figure out the interest using the simple interest formula. So we take 87,000 times 8.5%, 0.085. Again, note it's a decimal. And because we're talking about a monthly payment, the interest for the month we calculate as 1/12 of a year. 1/12 of a year. Okay, so we get $616.25. So now we want to know how much of the payment goes to the principal. Well, notice this is a pretty big figure here. $616.25 goes to interest. So we have to take our payment, $755.01, minus the $616.25 that's going to interest. Only $138.76 of the first payment is going to the principal. So that means our balance of the principal will be $87,000 minus the $138.76 we just found. So we still, at the end of the first month, owe $86,861.24. Now, if we were calculating a second month, we would do the same process. Okay, we would keep the same payment. We're not going to change that. But what will change is the interest, because the principal will now be this amount times the 8.5% or 0.085 times 1/12. We come up with the interest. Again, we subtract that from the payment, $755.01, and that gives us the amount that is then deducted from the principal, which is the $86,861.24, minus that new interest amount will give us a new balance of the principal. So you could do this for 2 months if need be. And I think a couple of the problems do have you do this for a couple of months. Okay, now when you take out a mortgage on something like a home, typically what will happen is that you will pay the taxes on the house, that is the personal property or real estate taxes, actually it's real estate taxes, and the insurance through your monthly mortgage payment. They want to make sure the property is insured. They also want to make sure you're paying the taxes so the home is not taken away from you because of either non-payment of taxes or non-payment, or it burns down and there's no insurance to replace it. So in number 18, we have to take into account when we're looking at the payments, the taxes and the insurance. So that's basically what they're having us do. So I use table 6, and like I said, table 6 is always the easiest way to go with the payment if it's in there. We want to use the interest rate of 5.5%. The term is 15 years, so you want to go down on the left till you find 15 years and then go across on the top to 5.5%. Okay, the table figure is 8.17083 per $1,000. So we take that times and just put the decimal where the comma is in the 72,000. There are $72.890 thousand in this mortgage. So the monthly payment to cover the mortgage part is $595.57. Now, we've got annual amounts on both the taxes and insurance, so we need to divide each of those by 12 in order to come up with the monthly amount. So for taxes, it's $154.17, and just round it as you normally would. Same thing for the insurance. So the total payment is not $595.57, but actually, and you need to think about this when you're thinking about buying a house, actually with the taxes and the insurance, you're paying $795.16 a month for that. So you do want to think about this is not the bottom figure that you're paying. You're actually paying a couple $100 more when you add in the taxes and the also the insurance. Now, I'm skipping the adjustable rate mortgages, which are typically called ARMs, and my recommendation is to avoid those in most cases. What happens is it starts out with a very low, reasonable interest rate, and then after so much time, it jumps to a much higher rate. And a lot of the people I know that have gotten into trouble with their mortgage and have lost their homes, it's because of an ARM. So I do recommend or advise you to avoid those.